Hello. Welcome to this new video. This time I'm going to continue on Splunk Cloud series of videos that I've been creating over the last couple of weeks, a month. And again, if you find this information useful, I would really appreciate if you leave a nice comment, or if you have any doubts or if something isn't clear. I would also appreciate if you leave that something in the comments, because my goal is to refine all these Splunk videos and create a concise series of different videos that are going to go from beginners to administration. And this is the first set of tutorials that I'm creating related to Splunk. So what we're going to be doing today, or what we're going to be talking about today, is a deployment server and why you would need a deployment server. Now, if you have watched any of the other videos that I've created on Splunk, and I'm going to add links to the playlist on this one, you know that we've been talking about Splunk Cloud, and that's what I'm concentrating on. Splunk Cloud is deployment and its architecture. And as you can imagine, Splunk Cloud is you having the Splunk infrastructure in the cloud, so you don't have to have any physical hardware for that. And then you're gonna be managing that in the cloud instead of managing that on-prem. Splunk Cloud is super useful and it's super easy to use and deploy with cloud-based software as a service or infrastructure as a service or any other type of cloud solution like AWS or Office 365 or GitHub or anything else, because you're going to be able to ingest that data through the use and implementations of add-ons into Splunk Cloud, and then you're going to be able to represent that data by using apps. But even when most of your architecture is on the cloud, perhaps you still have some on-prem architecture. Let's say that you have Windows servers and Unix servers or Linux servers in your office. So how do you bring the logs from these devices that are on-prem, distributed across different physical sites or on the same site? It doesn't matter, they're going to be on-prem. How do you bring all those logs into Splunk Cloud, to the cloud version of Splunk, so you can see and analyze and use logs correlation for that? So in that case, you're going to be installing the universal forwarders, right? That is going to be a software that is going to be installed on these computers, on whatever computer you want to get the logs from, and that's going to be configured, and you're going to send that to Splunk Cloud, or the system is going to do it for you. And I'll create another video for that. But what I want to concentrate on, and if you don't mind, just ignore the server classes for now. That's going to be another video. What I want to concentrate on is on the deployment server, because to many people this is a confusing subject. So a deployment server is basically a Splunk Enterprise software configured as a deployment server to push out universal forwarders or to control universal forwarders. That's what it's going to be doing. So what you need to do, you need to log into Splunk.com and download Splunk Enterprise. Now, if you are licensed for Splunk Cloud, you will ask Splunk support for a license to deploy a deployment server. So what they're going to do, they're going to provide a specific license that is not going to have all the features of Splunk Enterprise, or it's not going to give you access to all the features of Splunk Enterprise in terms of if you get over the minimum number of megabytes that the free Splunk Enterprise gives you, then you're gonna have issues, right? So you're gonna license your product, so you're not gonna have any limitations in the amount of bandwidth that the system is gonna be able to process, and then you're gonna license that. They're gonna give you a license key. Then you have to log in into the deployment server and then license the product with the license they provide. So what I want to show you today is, number one, how to install the deployment server. Then again, this is just the same configuration as Splunk Enterprise. What's going to make a difference is how you're going to be using it and the license that you are going to apply to it. So with that being said, let's go through that configuration. Remember that what you can do, you can download Splunk from you can download Splunk Enterprise from splunk.com. They are gonna give you I believe it's 60 or 90 days trial for you to try it, and then it is the same software that you are gonna use. Then you're gonna license it and all that. Something to keep in mind is that when you are going to deploy the deployment server, you have to keep in mind two things. And let me bring this back here. So if you are going to monitor, or if you want to collect the logs from Windows machines or Unix machines, it does matter on which operating system you are going to install Splunk on, Splunk Enterprise. In this case, we're going to be using a Linux-based operating system because we do want this deployment server to be able to collect information from Windows and Linux. Splunk Enterprise can be installed or configured on Linux and Windows computer operating systems. So if we go to, let's do a quick search. Let me stop this for 1 second. And let's do a quick search right here. And you'll see that when you download Splunk Enterprise, or where you have the option, you're going to see the option to download that for Windows, for Linux, or even Mac OS. So let me come here for 1 second, if you don't mind. I'm going to maximize this. So let me come to this page. So what you have to keep in mind, as any other software that you're going to install, you have to make sure that you meet or exceed the minimum requirements for that. So if you can see here, you can try Splunk Cloud or Splunk Enterprise. As you can see, they give you 60 days. For Cloud, they give you 4 days, and you can try a 5 gigabytes per day. And for this, 500 megabytes per day if you want to do that. So if you click on Get My Trial, it's pretty simple though. You only have to create the account. Just type in your username and password, the work email, and all that. Okay, so it doesn't show it here. What I wanted to show you is, I have to go to the other link. Just bear with me. View products right here. So as you can see here, and I still don't see the option. Oh, this is not what I was looking for. So what I wanted to show you is just simply the location where you see the, let me see if I can find it in here. Okay, so on this computer, I have to log in to access that. But if you create the account and you go to the download option, you are going to notice that you are going to see different pages or different options. Let me bring this over here. As you could see, you have Windows, Linux, and Mac, and you have to make sure, as I mentioned before, that you meet the minimum requirements for the operating system or exceeding, right? You don't want to have just the minimum. And you have to do some planning though, depending on how many devices the deployment server is gonna support. Then you might have to add more resources to it. So let me come back here one more time to continue on my previous topic. Okay, so what I wanted to go over before we start the installation, as I mentioned to you before, is that if you're going to be managing a Linux operating system, you have to make sure that your deployment server is working on Linux. And let me rephrase that for 1 second, right? If you want to manage Linux and Windows, right? You have to make sure that the deployment server is Windows, or you can install it on Linux. If you want to manage Linux and Windows, you have to make sure the deployment server is running on Linux. But if you want to only manage Windows computers and you don't care about Linux computer, meaning that you're going to be collecting logs from universal forwarders installed only on Windows, then you can do it on your Windows machine. So that's something that you have to pay attention to. Just keep that in mind. So with that being said, let's go through the installation real quick. The installation is super simple. So let me go back into, let's say that you went through that process and you downloaded the executable, and here it is. So what we're gonna do is that we're going to unzip it or untarget it, right? First, as you could see, it's a TGZ file. So we're gonna do sudo space star, and then we have to specify the file name right here, obviously. And then we specify the file name, and then the directory where we want to send the unzipped files to, right? So we're gonna do -c space, and you can basically install it in any directory you would like to install it. Me, in my case, I'm gonna follow the same, the best practices and what's common, so I'm gonna install it in the OPT directory, or at least that's what I'm gonna send it to. So as you can see here, this is just the command to elevate privileges, because if you don't, you're not gonna be able to do it. This is the command to untarget or unzip it. This is the file name that you see here, and this is where you're gonna be sending that to this directory. So I am going to press enter, and I'm gonna authenticate with my password, and this is gonna do its magic. I'm gonna pause the video and I'll be back when it's done. Okay, so it took about a minute or two for that to finish. So I'm gonna go to the OPT directory. So I'm gonna go to the root and the OPT, and as you can see here, I have a Splunk directory that has been created. So to get to the files in the directory, you switch to it, and then you're gonna see other directories and subdirectories and files here. For you to do the initial installation, you're gonna find the executable in the bin directory. So just switch to it, and then right from here, you're going to sudo, and you're gonna type Splunk start, and what that's gonna do is gonna start the installation wizard for you. So I'm gonna hit enter, And as you can see here, just press the tab bar many times and you'll see that the progress percentage is going to be increasing as you keep going through the different pages in here. Obviously, this is one of those things that we know that we should read and we never do, but make sure that you understand the terms and conditions of this, or at least that your legal department does. Now, do you have to agree with it? Do you? You say yes. And then you have to type in the administrator username. Remember, we're going to be setting Splunk Enterprise on this physical machine to manage and distribute universal forwarders that ultimately are going to be sending logs to a Splunk Cloud. So you're going to be logging in to the local, in this case, Splunk Enterprise version of Splunk that is configured as a deployment server. So just type in whatever username and password you would like to use. So I'm going to call this actually Splunk admin. And then you have to create a password at one point and just type in whichever password you would like to type in. Just make sure that you remember the password. And that's going to create the account. Now, if you forget the password, there is a way to reset the password, and I'll create a video for that at another time. So what the system is doing here is prepping. The system is going through the installation process, and as you could see, you're going to be able to access Splunk Enterprise through the loopback address URL over port 8000 or over the interface IP address or DNS name. As long as you use port 8000, you're going to be okay, because that's the default port that the system is showing you. So it is getting everything ready. I'm going to pause the video one more time and I'll be back when it's done. Okay, the system is done, and as you could see, it says that now you can access Splunk interface through the loopback IP address or DNS name. So let me copy this or open link. Let's see if it opens from here. Sometimes it takes too long for Firefox to function, so let's see what happens. Okay, so here we are. Just type in the username and password. And here we are. Now this is our deployment server configuration, or at least we're going to be using that as a deployment server. Right now is nothing. Something else that I mentioned before at the beginning of the video, if you're doing this in your production, or if you're ready to do this in your production environment, you do have to license this, right? And you have to get that license from support. So just give them a call, open a ticket, and tell them that you're going to be deploying. If you have a Splunk Cloud and you want to deploy a deployment server, just tell them that you need the license for the deployment server, and they're going to give it to you. And what you will do in that case, once you get the license, you go to settings, and there is an option. Let me go to settings, and you would go to change license group. Where is that? Let's see, licensing. And then change license. As you could see here, look at the license that I have. It's the free license, right? They give you 500 megabytes per day, and this is gonna expire on September 30th because I have a licensed product, so I'm running on the trial. But you would go to change license group, and then from here you will select the type of license they're going to give you. They're going to provide an enterprise license. You will click save, and then you're going to have to enter the license information right here, right? So you can either upload the file or copy and paste the XML code they are going to give you. But this is a lab environment, and I'm not going to be licensing anything. So once you license that, you're going to be able to have full functionality of Splunk Enterprise as a deployment server. So that is how you configure your deployment server. Now, let me rephrase that. That is how you install Splunk Enterprise to use it as a deployment server at one point. But as of now, to be honest with you, we haven't done anything. We just installed Splunk on a Linux box, and now we need to do the configuration that we're going to be deploying, and that's going to come up on the next video. We're going to be talking about server classes, and we're going to be talking about the universal forwarders that we're going to be pushing out to the servers here, the Windows and the Linux computers, and we're going to be talking about the applications that we're going to be using to collect that information on the Splunk Cloud side, and all the configuration we need to do on that side to collect that information. So if you found this video useful, as I mentioned at the beginning, click on the like button, subscribe to my channel. And again, I'm trying to create a concise, easy to understand Splunk series. So if you have any questions or any suggestions, please let me know. And when I revise these videos in the future, I can reference to those questions and make much better videos. I hope this helps. Have an amazing rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon.